Hey all, welcome to week 11 of advanced teacher training. And this week we're working on more backbending. We're going to be doing some belly down back bends, a back bend where we're perpendicular to the earth, and also more work on wheel. So our poses for this week are Shalabhasana, locust, Dhanurasana, bow pose, Ustrasana, camel, and Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow or wheel.
Good times, that's good.
Okay, so we're going to start with Shalabhasana, the locust pose. There's lots of different variations you can do in locust, and I'm going to do two of them. So classic with the arms down by your sides, and then the other one with the arms reaching above the head. So you come down onto your belly, and you want your thighs internally rotated. So something that you can do is tuck your toes and then press back through your heels and roll your thighs toward each other. You can see that my heels are coming away from each other and my thighs are rolling in. And then I'm going to place my legs back down. After you've done that, bring your feet so that they're closer together. And you might feel the internal rotation start to release. And if you feel that, then take your feet a little bit wider, and you can do individual legs as well. So you can tuck the toes, turn the thigh in, stretch the top of the foot back down, tuck, turn in, stretch the top of the foot back down. So there's a couple of ways to get that internal rotation. But what you want is your low back area to be free and open. Because if it's closed, if you're turning your feet out or you're squeezing right into the center line of your seat, you're not going to come up very far at all. And it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel it all in your low back. So now once I have that established, forehead down. You can also put your mouth on the ground. If your chest is a little more closed, you'll find putting the mouth down easier. Ideally, you want your forehead down. Arms by my sides, palms facing down. Up is also an option, but what it does is, you know when we bind and we turn our arms so it's internally rotated? Palms up is more internal rotation. We want palms down, more external rotation. I'm going to take a deep inhale. Exhale. Belly in, thighs, arms engaging. Inhale. Exhale. Getting stronger, tucking my tail. And on this next inhalation, I'm going to come up. Inhale, lift. Upper, lower body lifting at the same time. Now, big mistake that people make is that they try to get their chest really high and they leave their legs behind. I'm going to show you. So they'll lift their chest way up, but their legs are way over here. No, find the balance in the pose. And then really look for Tadasana. Straighten and strengthen your legs. Pull in your belly. Lift through your chest. And you want your toes to line up with the back of your heart. And lower. So that's classic. Now I'm going to do my arms out in front. And I'm just going to come up into it. Because I don't want to get sandy. So I'm going to reestablish my internal rotation. Now I'm doing it with the tops of my feet still down. So like once you get it, you can kind of make that adjustment pretty easily with the tops of your feet down. I taught you with the toes because it really emphasizes it, especially for beginners. Okay, so forehead down, arms out, exhale, inhale coming up. You get as long and strong as you can, pulling in the belly, strengthen the legs, strengthen all the way through. Arms, legs, everything working together. And then lower evenly. Next is Dhanurasana, bow. Same internal rotation. So in most of your back bends, you have internal rotation because you need the low back to be free. And your back bends, the last place they go into is your low back. But when you're working against gravity, a lot of the times people will clench their seat because it's really powerful in your glutes. The muscles in your glutes and your legs are really strong. Don't just go there. Keep the sacrum so that it's nice and broad. And I'm going to do that internal rotation again. And now I'm going to bend my knees and reach back and grab hold of my feet. Now you can hold at your ankles, and I really like that if you can reach because you can press through there really, really well. Or some folks can't reach there, okay, so they hold here at the toes, right at that crease where the toes meet the foot. I'm going to go to the ankles. I'm going to show you a little trick. So you can point the toes, exhale breath, and then inhale, come up. And if, I'm going to lower down, if you flex your feet, bring my knees toward each other, just like we do in wheel or hero's pose. Exhale breath. On the inhale, I'm going to start lifting, but I'm really going to press back my shins and get my chest way up. Now I'm going to point my toes and take some of that weight forward. See if you can't bring your big toes to touch. Look up. Ustrasana. Now we are perpendicular with the earth, so we can use gravity in our favor. Whereas when we were in Shalabhasana and Dhanurasana, you have to really lift away from gravity. It's very challenging. It's what makes you super strong. So floor back bends are really, really important. Belly down back bends, really, really strength building. Ustrasana. Now you have the belly facing out. So there is a vulnerability emotionally and literally physically. You have your underbelly showing out. So a lot of people are not super comfortable with this pose when they're trying to get in. A lot of times it's not a physical thing that's preventing them from doing it. It's more emotional. The same thing can happen here with using your feet to feel like more grounded and to have more control over the pose. So I'm going to tuck my toes, and now I can press back through there. And it's interesting because it feels like, oh, okay, I'm not going to fall. I'm safe. I can still go back. That's good. Okay, so I know I can get out of it if I need to. And then from here, tailbone down, low belly in, chest coming up, hands ideally at the heart or on the hips, but if the low back bothers you, put the fists or the thumbs in the sacrum. I'm going in, hands at heart center. Loop the tail, lift the chest up, and start to arc backwards. And then reach and grab each of your heels. You should be able to do this without twisting. If you notice your students twisting, they need to come out. And then I'm going to come up, and now I'm going to show you with the feet down. So, pressing through the tops of the feet. You can feel that already it's less stable, okay? The pose this way, the classic way, is not as grounding. So you have to find the strength. Squeeze the thighs, pull in the belly, lift the chest, and then start arcing back. I'm going to reach with my other hand first so I don't become habitual in the way I do something with one hand first all the time. If you notice people's hips are sinking back, don't tell them push your hips forward. They're already sinking back in that area. Tell them lift your chest. Then the hips will come forward. And of course the opposite is true. If the chest is sinking back, but the hips are forward, right? Tell them, press through your hips a little bit more and lift your chest better. And it works both ways. So the last thing we're going to do are some wheels, and I'm going to teach you a couple of different ways to get into wheel. First, with the block in between the thighs. So I'm going to lie all the way down and put this block this way, okay, in between the thighs, and I'm going to squeeze it. And what this does is it prevents you from clenching in your buttocks so that you don't cut off the fluidity in your low back. Now, I'm going to turn my fingers towards my heels. And you can remember from last week, right? We want our elbows pointing straight up. And then inhalation, crown of the head. Squeezing that block. Now I'm going to straighten out my arms a little bit better, like elbows straight back, readjusting my hands, squeezing my block, coming up. Then I'm going to lower. I always like just to tuck my chin and go on the back of my head rather than onto the crown of the head again. It's not necessary. I try to avoid putting too much pressure on the neck any chance that I get. So I recommend that for you too. And now this next way to get into wheel is taking bridge pose into wheel. So with bridge, this gives you a really deep wheel, right? Because you're touching your heels with your middle fingers. You can hold the edges of your mat. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to go in with my palms holding onto the mat. And then I'm going to start lifting the pelvis. I'm going to take a big inhale to my chest. And then exhale, lift up through my hips, taking upper arms closer together. It would be absolutely fine, right, to take an interlace, and you could take it deeper. And then from there, so once I've got my breastbone touching my chin, or you want to get as close as you can, I never moved my head, just the chest lifting to the chin. Then I'm going to turn my hands over. I'm going to take all this lift from my bridge and bring it up into a wheel. And it gives you a fantastic wheel.